My name is Ethan Morgan, and I'm 30 years old. I live with my wife Anna in a modest 3-bedroom home in the suburbs of Greenwich, Connecticut. Most days, I wake up around 6:30 a.m. to get ready for my job as a software engineer at a medium-sized tech company in Stamford. It's about a 40-minute commute each way, but the job has been great: stable income, decent benefits, and a chill work environment. This morning started off pretty typical. I sipped my black coffee while scrolling through the daily news on my phone, making a mental checklist of stuff I needed to take care of. Anna had already left for her marketing manager job in the city. She's been working insane hours recently, often not getting home until 8 or 9 p.m. I know her career is really important to her, but part of me wishes she'd dial it back a notch so we could actually spend some quality time together. When we first met in college almost a decade ago, we were inseparable. She made me feel like the funniest, most interesting guy in the world. We had this indescribable connection, like soulmates. Back then, all my worries seemed to melt away whenever Anna was around. But lately, all I feel is distance, an invisible wall separating us that I can't seem to break through, no matter how hard I try. Take last weekend, for example. Anna said she had to work overtime again, so I made myself a frozen pizza and caught up on my shows. When she finally got home around midnight, I was already fast asleep. She just gave me a peck on the cheek and passed out too. Barely even a hello. We used to chat for hours about our dreams, our values, our goals as a couple. Anymore, it's just hurried small talk in between her work marathons. I shouldn't jump to conclusions. I know everyone goes through rough patches in their relationship. And God knows Anna has had her share of struggles too, like when her dad passed away a few years ago. I was there by her side every step of the way as she grieved. Why can't she see that I'm still that same supportive partner? That I'm struggling too with feeling so disconnected lately. All I want is for us to get back on the same team again. As I pulled into the office parking lot, I felt that familiar knot in my stomach, the nagging fear that if something doesn't change soon, Anna and I might be too far gone to find our way back to each other. I'd pushed it down and headed inside, determined to stay focused and figure out how to rekindle that spark after work. Our relationship is the most important thing in the world to me, and I'll do whatever it takes to make her see that again. Just hope I'm not already too late. The weeks just kept slipping by, each day bleeding into the next. Anna's late nights at the office had basically become the new normal. I tried my best to be understanding. After all, I knew how demanding her marketing job could be with tight deadlines and endless meetings. But the lack of quality time together was really starting to get to me. One Saturday, I decided to surprise Anna at work and take her out for a nice lunch, maybe rekindle a little romance. I called the office, but she didn't pick up. That was weird. She almost always answered when I called. I shot her a text asking if she wanted to grab a bite, but never heard back. All right, no big deal, I thought. She's probably just swamped and hasn't had a chance to check her phone. After a few hours of mentally debating whether to just show up, I finally drove over to Anna's office in downtown Stamford. Her car was nowhere to be found in the parking lot. That's odd. Where the heck was she then? My mind immediately jumped to worst-case scenarios. What if she got into an accident or something? Scrambled to call her sister Lauren. Hey Lauren, it's Ethan. Sorry to bother you, but have you heard from Anna today at all? Oh hey, no actually, I haven't talked to her since yesterday. Why, what's up? I explained about her car not being at work and my failed attempts to get a hold of her. I'm just kinda worried, you know. She's been working crazy hours, and I wanted to make sure she's okay. Honestly, Ethan, you're probably overreacting a little, Lauren replied in that matter-of-fact tone only little sisters can pull off. Hannah's basically always glued to her laptop or phone. I'm sure she just got wrapped up in something and lost track of time. You know how she gets when she's in work mode. I forced an uncomfortable chuckle. Yeah, you're probably right. I'll just, check around a little more before I start freaking out. We said our goodbyes, but I still felt a nagging sense that something wasn't quite right. If Anna wasn't at the office, then where the hell was she? And why wasn't she answering any of my calls or texts? Over the next few hours, I drove around to all her favorite cafes, the grocery store, the mall, anywhere I could think of. No luck. By the time evening rolled around, I'll admit I was getting pretty frustrated. If she had just given me a heads up instead of going radio silent. Anna finally came strolling through the front door around 8 p.m., laughing at something on her phone. She seemed, I dunno, almost giddy. Where the hell have you been? Blurted out, unable to mask my irritation. I've been trying to get a hold of you all freaking day. Her face instantly fell. Geez, Ethan, I'm sorry. I was just out running some errands and lost track of. Out where, exactly? I demanded, cutting her off. Because your car definitely wasn't at the office like it's supposed to be when you're working on a Saturday. Anna's mouth opened and closed, seemingly struggling to find an answer. I was. Threw my hands up in exasperation. You know what? Forget it. I'm just glad you're okay, I guess. Stormed off toward the bedroom, too pissed off for another one of her lame excuses. As I laid there staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with possibilities about where she could have been, it occurred to me, had our marriage reached a point of no return? Were we already so disconnected that Anna felt she had to hide things from me? The thought honestly terrified me. I never wanted to lose the amazing spark we once had, but maybe it was already too late. The days following Anna's bizarre disappearance and sketchy behavior were tense, to say the least. We were barely speaking beyond basic pleasantries. The usual comfortable silence that used to fill our home now felt suffocating, like the walls were closing in. I spent a lot of restless nights replaying that argument in my head, analyzing every word for any possible hidden meanings. Was I being too overbearing by demanding to know where she'd been? Maybe she really did just need some alone time away from me. But the more I thought about it, the more inconsistencies and little white lies I recall from recent months. Why had Anna been so weirdly defensive when I asked about her car not being at work? What kind of errands could possibly take all day on a Saturday in the first place? I'm not an idiot. I knew something didn't add up. I just didn't want to admit the obvious answer staring me in the face. My gut was telling me Anna was hiding something big. The thought made me nauseous. For our entire relationship, we had prided ourselves on full honesty and transparency at all times, no matter how difficult. I had never once doubted her loyalty or commitment to me. Until now. Finally got the chance to voice these swirling concerns when Anna came home from work one evening. After some strained small talk about our days, a heavy silence fell over the kitchen as we cleaned up from dinner. Hey, can I ask you something? Started cautiously. Anna looked up from loading the dishwasher. What's up? Took a deep breath, steadying myself. Have you been completely straight with me lately? About everything that's going on. She immediately tensed up, her lips pursing in irritation. What are you implying, Ethan? I'm not implying anything, I replied evenly, forcing my nerves down. I just want the truth. Where were you that Saturday when your car wasn't at the office? And don't tell me it was errands again. I'm not buying that crap anymore. Oh my God. Are you seriously still going on about this? Anna threw her hands up in exasperation. Why does it even matter where I was? I'm a grown adult, Ethan. I don't need to check in with you about my every move. Except you do when we're married. I shot back, my voice raising in frustration. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The constant evasiveness and shady behavior. Why can't you just be straight with me? Anna opened her mouth, then closed it again, seeming to reconsider her words. The look of, was it guilt, flickered across her face before the stony mask returned. You know what? I don't have the energy for this right now, she announced abruptly, pushing past me out of the kitchen. I'm going to bed. I stood there dumbfounded as her footsteps marched up the stairs and the bedroom door slammed. My heart pounded in my ears, mind racing over what just transpired. In that moment, I knew my wife was definitely keeping something from me. And I had a terrible, sinking feeling that whatever that secret was, it was going to turn my whole world upside down. The fallout from my confrontation with Anna felt like a punch to the gut. For the next few days, an unbearable tension filled our home. We were two ghosts simply going through the motions, avoiding each other at all costs. The elephant in the room loomed larger with every passing hour. I spent my nights lying awake, replaying Anna's evasive reaction over and over in my mind. Why couldn't she just be honest with me? After everything we'd been through together, didn't I deserve the truth? My brain tortured me with visions of what she could possibly be hiding. An affair, crippling debt, a secret addiction. Each possibility was more gut-wrenching than the last. By that weekend, I was an anxious wreck, unable to focus on anything but Anna's suspicious behavior. That's when I decided to take matters into my own hands and get to the bottom of whatever was going on, even if I didn't like what I found. Around 7 p.m. on Saturday, I watched Anna hastily get ready and head out the door with a vague, "I'll be back later" as her only explanation. My heart pounded as I followed behind her car at a distance, dizzyingly nervous about confronting the truth head-on. I felt crazy, like one of those unhinged husbands I saw on TV who goes full psycho-stalker mode. But I had to know. Anna's car eventually rolled up to a modest two-story house in a nearby neighborhood. I parked down the street and watched with bewildered confusion as she headed inside. Mark's house. My old college buddy Mark, who Anna had been supporting ever since his wife's tragic passing last year. You've got to be freaking kidding me, I muttered under my breath. For what felt like an eternity, I sat in stunned silence waiting for some logical explanation to make itself clear. But of course, none came, just my spiraling thoughts growing darker by the minute as the hours ticked by. Images of Anna and Mark intimately consoling each other making me feel sick to my stomach. Finally, around 11 p.m., Anna's car pulled away from the house and began heading home. I stayed put for a while to avoid being caught before eventually following behind again. By the time I strolled through our front door, Anna was already waiting up with her arms crossed in the living room. "Where the hell have you been?" she demanded, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. I laughed humorlessly. "I could ask you the same thing." Her face fell as I leveled her with an icy glare. I think she realized in that moment that the gig was up. "Ethan, I can explain," Anna started, her voice trembling slightly. "Save it." Cut her off, holding up my hand with disgust. "I saw your car at Mark's house tonight with my own two eyes." Her mouth opened and closed silently as tears started sliding down her cheeks, seemingly grasping for any explanation. "Were you going to tell me it all?" Pressed, acid seeping into my tone. "Or were you just going to keep lying straight to my face like you have been?" Anna blinked rapidly as her own accusations hung heavy in the air. She opened her mouth to speak, but I whipped around and stormed up the stairs without another word. Collapsed onto our bed, body numb, mind racing. My best friend and the woman I loved most in this world, betraying me in the most unimaginable way. As the weight of everything crashed over me in waves, I broke down into deep, racking sobs that I couldn't control. Our entire future, our marriage, our plans, our dreams, everything had suddenly become uncertain in the span of one horrible night. In that moment of shattering revelation, I honestly didn't know how I would ever be able to piece my life back together. In the weeks following my world being shattered, I basically operated on autopilot. Work was a blur, my usual solace of coding becoming a struggle to focus on. My mind wouldn't stop replaying those horrific images of Anna at Mark's house, torturing itself with all the sordid details I had narrowly avoided witnessing firsthand. Most nights I laid awake for hours, desperately wishing I could rewind time and go back to when my biggest worry was Anna's late nights at the office. At least back then, oblivious as I was, my life made sense. My foundation was still intact. Now, everything I thought I knew had been tainted by the ultimate betrayal. I started spending more evenings at my buddy Mike's place, which became a refuge from the emptiness and tension of my own home. He and Anna had never been particularly close, but he understood the bone-deep devastation I felt after being cheated on by the person you trusted most. "Dude, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Honestly," he said somberly over beers one night after I recounted the full story. "Anna always seemed like such a good egg. I never would have seen this coming." I shook my head wearily. "Me either, man. We were supposed to be a team, you know? Totally open and honest with each other at all times, no matter how painful. But I guess she never upheld her end of that deal." "Well, you can't punish yourself for her mistakes," Mike pointed out. "At the end of the day, she's the one who violated your trust and wrecked the marriage, not you." I took a long pull of my beer, considering his words as my emotions welled up again. "I know you're right, I do, but I just can't stop feeling like I failed her somehow too, you know. Like maybe if I was a better husband or made her more of a priority, this whole mess could have been avoided." Mike just sighed and rested a hand on my shoulder. "That's the affair, mind games messing with your head, Ethan. You didn't do a damn thing wrong here besides marrying a liar." By then, tears were flowing freely as months of repressed anger and sadness bubbled to the surface. Mike pulled me in for a rare bro hug, letting me get it all out. It was a strangely comforting feeling to have someone who simply got it without having to explain myself for once. No judgment, no disappointed looks, just someone who had my back unconditionally. As the weeks turned into months, I gradually started to regain my footing emotionally. I took Anna's infidelity as a wake-up call to seriously prioritize my own needs for a change instead of putting hers first constantly. Amicably ended our lease and moved into a new place, packing up reminders of our life together with each box. It was a freeing feeling, in a weird way, to be able to restart on my own terms after being knocked so hard off course. Sure, still had plenty of down days where any insignificant thing would trigger a depressive spiral. Healing from that level of pain isn't a linear process, but any time I felt myself slipping backwards, I would call up Mike or another friend who could reliably pull me out of that dark mental cycle. Embraced old hobbies like cycling and hiking that helped clear my head. And most importantly, I worked on redefining my self-worth, no longer basing it on another person's perception of me. Slowly but surely, the broken shards of my old life started rearranging themselves into something new and unknown. A path of my own creation leading me forward with the strength to let my past remain in the rearview for good. As I stepped through the doorway of my brand new apartment, a wave of possibility washed over me. This was it, the first physical steps into a life of my own creation. No more weighing myself down with anger or resentment over the past. Only a fresh start firmly rooted in self-respect and clarity about what I truly deserve. The divorce proceedings with Anna had finally been finalized a few months prior, wrapping up that excruciating chapter once and for all. While the separating of assets and legal headaches weren't fun, I tried to remain pragmatic about it all. Clinging to material possessions or money wouldn't undo the damage of her betrayal. If giving her what she wanted could allow me to move on cleanly with my integrity intact, so be it. Mike helped me load up the moving truck and get settled into my new place, per our established row code. Not gonna lie, man, it's damn good to see you smiling and joking around again, he remarked as we knocked back a couple celebratory beers. You've come a long damn way since, well, you know. I nodded, a contented smile spreading across my face. You're telling me there were definitely some really dark times where I legitimately thought I might not make it through. But you were there every step of the way, keeping me centered when I felt like my world was crumbling. Hey, that's what real friends are for. Mike shrugged humbly before cracking a wry grin. Although maybe next time don't wait until your wife is boning your other friend to reach out for backup. Yeah. I fired back with a middle finger and a reluctant chuckle. There was something immensely therapeutic about being able to find humor again in the aftermath of so much pain. A testament to how far I'd come from those initial days of bitter anguish. In the weeks that followed my fresh start, I actively focused on nurturing new perspectives and practices that reinforced my budding mindset of self-love. Meditation became a morning ritual for centering my thoughts before each day. I picked up boxing classes at a local gym as an empowering creative outlet. Met up with old friends I'd fallen out of touch with during my marriage. Essentially, did anything and everything that reminded me of my innate worth, regardless of external circumstances. Did it cure me of the lingering doubts and painful memories that may never fully disappear? Of course not. Healing from an experience like betrayal, where every ounce of trust is demolished, is an ongoing process rather than a finite journey. There would always be a small part of me that reflexively questioned whether the people closest to me were telling the whole truth. But I refused to let my life be defined by suspicion any longer. I deserved to be surrounded by people of integrity who were worthy of my faith and loyalty. Building those bonds may happen slowly at first, but it's a risk I knew I had to take in order to fully re-embrace love and companionship. Most importantly, I was finally at peace with who I am, the good, the flaws, and everything in between. My identity and self-assuredness weren't rooted in another person's perception or opinion. After stripping away all the baggage of my failed marriage, what remained was a better understanding of myself than I'd ever had before. A steadfast knowledge that no matter what life decided to throw my way next, I had the strength and resilience to adapt without losing my sense of self. That kind of honest self-trust, I now realized, is the greatest form of love anyone can possess. And that realization was what made my new lease on life feel so exhilarating. An open road formed by my own meticulously recovered values stretched out ahead of me, presenting endless possibilities. For the first time in a long time, I was enthusiastically buckled in and ready for the incredible journey to come. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, give us a like, share our story. See you all soon.